Today, I'm in Dubai to film a very special interview with the CEO of Solana. Our guest is the most feared and most loved person on crypto Twitter. He came all the way from playing Skyrim in the Niagara Falls to running Solana's biggest infrastructure company. He's known for being an angel investor, a former podcast host, and a privacy evangelist. Also, based on the tweets in the last 30 days, he might possibly be the CEO of Zcash as well. Welcome to the show, the CEO of Helium, Mert Mumtaz. Mert, you flew in all the way from Moscow.
I have been in the north of Turkey.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Okay, but you did spend some time in Moscow before that, didn't you?
I might have or I might not have.
Interesting. So, is Moscow a great city to live in?
I don't know about living in because I haven't lived there, but Moscow in the summer is not beatable by any city that I've ever been to.
So rating the city in terms of kind of quality of life from 1 to 10, what would you say is Moscow for you?
Quality of life.
Yeah.
Probably a 9. It's honestly pretty. You see all the stuff in the West and the media, and they're like, oh, you know, Russia bad, all this stuff. But look, the Russian people are different from the Russian government, obviously. But the city itself, Moscow, just objectively speaking, from architecture and services and restaurants and the people, it's the best I've been to.
So what does the KGB have on you?
Well, I'm dating one of their agents.
I see. Interesting. So we do have to make a little test here. Do you know the game Simon Says?
I think.
Do you know how it works?
I don't remember, honestly.
You just have to do what Simon says.
Oh, I just have to. Okay.
You ready? Okay.
Perhaps.
Simon says, say Putin.
Putin.
Simon says, say is a
No, I'm not going to say that.
Interesting. Okay, we'll just leave it there then. Do you trust the Slavic people?
I don't really trust any human unless they've earned my trust.
Okay. Do you trust Toli?
Yes.
Even though he's Slavic?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, that makes sense. Do you speak some Russian?
Да.
What do you speak? Can you say a sentence? Just like one sentence.
Здравствуйте. Здравствуйте. Как дела? I just
Perfect.
said, hello, how are you?
Okay. Not bad. Where did you learn it?
I learned that from Duolingo.
So are you actually trying to learn Russian?
So, yes, I wanted to read Dostoevsky and Tolstoy in native Russian.
Why native Russian? Like, I think I read Dostoevsky in native English. That was fine.
The problem is the translation loses a lot of the real meaning of the words. But then also, obviously, my girlfriend is Russian. And, I think it's good to keep the good old noggin here a little agile and flexible to learn new.
Fair. Makes sense. So, going away from Russia, I saw that you changed your handle, I think a month ago, 2 months ago, some day this year, you changed your handle. You cut off 3 letters from your handle? How much did it cost you?
I don't know if I remember. It was low 5 figures. I don't remember the exact amount, though.
Low 5 figures.
Yes.
Was it worth it?
I think so. I mean, first of all, OX Mert has Ethereum connotations, which I cannot be CEO of Solana with Ethereum verbiage on my identity.
Misleading.
And but then Mert is just very short. It's 4 letters. And then it's like a weird thing where when you speak with a short handle, other people with short handles who are generally early on and investors and whatever tech people tend to just follow you more. So I would say, and then X is going to add all these new features with chat and money and all this. So I don't know. It was more of an ego thing, I would say, because in Turkey, Mert is extremely common name. So it would be like in America, you have the handle John, right? So it's whatever.
So it's quite valuable.
I like it.
So you don't regret spending?
No. I think it's great.
Speaking of Twitter, everyone knows you there. Like, you're quite infamous, at least in the Solana ecosystem. People know who Mert is, but they only know your Twitter persona. So, who are you really?
Jesus. Well, I am a guy who grew up in Turkey and Canada, and I like building stuff. I call myself a cipher capitalist now. I like reading, and yeah, I mean, it's hard to sell it really, but I just like building things.
So I brought you a little gift as well. So you can put that in your
Oh, nice.
in your apartment.
It's a cipher capitalist.
Hell yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about that later on as well.
That's awesome.
Because you wrote a whole article, I think,
Uh-huh.
about that topic.
Yes.
And it's a new term that again is Mert.
I'm trying to meme it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've come up with a few
You do that.
terms like this. I like doing that, like only possible on Solana and all this other like encrypt the money, putting a Z in front of everything. I don't know. It gives me some weird sadistic joy.
Fair. I mean, it's good branding as well.
Yeah.
You know, it helps with branding. When I look at your Twitter, I do have to ask though,
Uh-huh.
why are you so angry all the time? Is it because people forget the name of your company all the time?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I was talking about this with my girlfriend the other day, and if you look at the stats, and I don't know how much you want to believe the stats, but Turkey is like pretty consistently in the top 2 of most angry countries.
Really?
And so there's like some genetic component there, because I remember I'm growing up, and everyone I knew was just angry, like all the time at literally anything. Just genetically short-fused to some extent. You know, I also can't eat food. I don't know, I just don't have patience for
Things.
many things. Yeah.
That must be challenging.
No, it's good. I mean, look, people say, oh, you know, anger is, you know, the Buddhist types in the East, they're like, oh, you must be peace and Zen and shit. But look, anger is actually a very good source of, in some sense, renewable energy, right? The way you're able to get so much stuff done is along with coffee. And coffee, by the way, helps you become more angry, I would say, because you're more alert of things. And with that anger, you just have energy to do things, right? Like I call it, I stole it from David Ogilvy, divine discontent, right? As long as you're divinely discontent with everything, then you have some incentive to improve all the things.
The world is a dark place at times, but you can source from that.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I get angry at the most random shit all the time. Like, look, but that doesn't mean you should act on the anger, obviously.
Yeah.
Right, like you shouldn't, you know, go to a foreign country and commit crime or something. But if you can channel in some productive channel, and that's what, like, you know, the athletes do too, right? Like Jordan and Brady. Obviously, I'm nothing like that, but like it's a very old secret.
Now you mentioned Istanbul, you mentioned Turkey, you mentioned your background there. You did leave Turkey as a kid already. Your family moved to the Niagara Falls, if I'm not mistaken. I think your dad was probably trying to get out of the political environment in Turkey. And then today, you ended up in Dubai, much safer. Do you think your dad is happy with your life choices?
Oh, yeah. I mean, first of all, I'm closer to him. Dubai to where he lives there's a direct flight, and it's 2-3 hours. It's the south of Turkey. I mean, I don't have that culture shock of like the Middle East and the Russians and all these other people, because I am Middle Eastern. If you can call Turks Middle Eastern, some people debate that. But and then, you know, I have made the money to help him. So I mean, he's a hairdresser. He's actually been a hairdresser since something like 11 years old. Dropped out of school to like take care of his. He had like 5-6 sisters, and now I just bought him a salon.
Nice.
So I mean, he seems pretty happy with my choices.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, actually, he's definitely, because he's a hairdresser. He is not happy at all with the fact that I'm bald. Like he's like, every time I visit him, he'll be like, so, like, you know, you used to be such a handsome boy. Like, why don't you get a hair transplant? I'm like, what do you mean used to be handsome? And so he doesn't like that.
You don't need hair to be handsome.
I know, but he's a hairdresser, so his entire identity is around hair.
Well, I mean, it's still an art to keep a nice, head.
I mean, I didn't do it today, but it is, yes. But anyway, he's happy with all life choices except that one.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Now, continuing the journey in the Niagara Falls and, your kind of childhood and growing up and everything, did my research and I found out that you were eligible for a sports scholarship at some point at Queen's University. The scholarship was for wrestling, rugby, kickboxing. Is there a reason you chose sports that involved being manhandled by sweaty men?
It wasn't for kickboxing or wrestling. It was for rugby.
Okay, that's much better.
But I used to do all the other ones as well. Yeah, I mean, look, it goes back to the anger thing. If you have to have some channel to just hit things responsibly in a legal way, and sports are the perfect way to do that.
Fair. But then you made the decision to walk away from the softcore porn scholarships and then headed into Skyrim and MMOs and became a nerd. Walk me through that journey.
Yeah, so it's a fascinating story, and when I talk to people, they'll be like, "Oh, I don't want my kids to play video games and shit," and I'm like, "Look, that's actually a very good place for people to understand themselves a bit better, depending on the game." And so this was high school. In high school, I was already on the pathway of. So I was the captain of the football team, rugby team. I did Muay Thai, I did wrestling, a bunch of medals there. And so I was playing Skyrim. And in Skyrim, you had these Nordic characters, and they had gigantic biceps and like huge delts. And I was like, that's me, right? Because I'm just projecting.
Yeah.
And I would build these characters. I would go around chopping off. And then I got to this quest or whatever, and these old mages would just destroy me. I mean, like one shot me with like a spell, and I was like, I couldn't pass the level. And so I'm like, okay, what the is happening here? And then I was actually at the gym downstairs. I had a gym in my basement, and doing some curls. And then I was like, you know what?
Mages.
Yeah.
Letting out your anger.
Yeah, I was like, these guys, man. There was like this College of Winterfell or some Academy of Wizardry there, like similar to like Hogwarts in Skyrim. And then it hit me. I was like, maybe I should just go do that and then try to learn some spells and and then try this quest again. So I did that, and it was actually pretty fun. I was like, oh, look, they're reading books, studying this now they have this knowledge, and they can channel that knowledge to create things that actually end up defeating, let's say, the brutes. So I did that. I beat that mission. And then all of a sudden it hit me, because at that point, my pathway was combat sports, and like I was very determined on either being a pro MMA fighter or a rugby player. But then always in the back of my head, I was like, that's all good, but like when I'm 30, 35, whatever, that life comes to an end, right? It's a young man's thing. I was always like naturally good at math. And so I switched all my classes after beating that a quest from college level. So in Canada, you have college and university. University is like the higher level one, and then college is like trade school, basically. I changed all my classes to the most advanced math and science courses the next semester. I aced all of those, and then I said, okay, well, what is the most like magic in the real world? And it's obviously engineering, where you study things and then apply that knowledge to create things. And applied to a bunch of schools. I got accepted to all of them, and then I ended up going to Queen's because they had because they had a really nice campus. Two is because they had a lot of women.
That's a good point.
And then Waterloo. So this is actually funny, because Elon Musk did the same thing. He was in Canada, and he had to pick between Waterloo and Queens, but he went to Queens because of the girls. Because Waterloo is like generally all dudes.
Smart marketing move from them.
Yeah, and I didn't know this at the time, of course. I found out after.
Oh.
But that's why I went to Queens. And then I started engineering.
How did we end up here? I asked you about Skyrim.
Yeah, I mean, it's the mages. I think magic is spells and all that shit. So like video games, very useful in my view.
Got it. You could have said that in like 10 words, bro. Anyway,
Yeah,
you're a magician.
exactly.
You made it.
Yes. Well, I didn't make it, but
Well, maybe you would fight these magicians now, these mages in Skyrim.
yes.
Are you gaming at all?
No, I haven't gamed in years.
Do you miss it?
I do miss it. Yes. I mean, a few years ago I tried. What is it called? Elden Ring.
Don't even know that one.
It was good. Hard game.
Okay.
I do miss it, but like there's just no time at all. There's zero time. Like and I'll be playing a game and then Anatoly would be like, Mert, build this stupid app. And I'd be like, totally off, please. I need to actually run the company and on and on it goes.
That's an actual DM from Tolly, by the way, that Mert received one day.
No,
Anyway.
all the time.
Different story. BlackBerry. You worked there as well at some point in your life?
Yeah, so when I was at Queens, you do an internship during your studies, a 12 to 16-month internship. And I applied at a bunch of places, and then I was like, BlackBerry seems interesting. Which was kind of dumb, actually, because BlackBerry was clearly dead at that point.
So, but real quick, for all the kids at home, BlackBerry is ancient technology you wouldn't understand.
Yes. Yes. No, so I went there. Funny enough, actually, it was in Waterloo. So I lived in Waterloo for a year. And yeah, I worked at BlackBerry right when they were going through the crisis of a bunch of CEO changes. You know, the one CEO came in and he's like, we're not going to get rid of the keyboard. That's what makes us BlackBerry. The keyboard is awesome. And then like within 6 months, they got rid of the keyboard.
Smart man. You called it a rim job.
Yes.
At some point. What does that mean? How did that make you feel?
Well, the real name for BlackBerry is Research in Motion, which can be shortened to RIM. And since I got a job there, then I got a RIM job.
All right, going on the records. At one point in your career, you suggested to an employee, I don't know exactly where it was, Scotia Bank or somewhere, you suggested to someone to do stablecoin transfers to Australia. Do you recall that moment? Was it, with what company was that?
I won't name the company.
Okay.
But yes, I was building the card infrastructure for a payments company. And I was like, why the does money go from Canada to like Indonesia to like back to Europe and then to Australia? It makes no sense. There's all these fees and stuff and it takes a while. I'm like, and at that point I already knew of crypto. I was like, why don't you just use Tether or something?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, crypto, ha ha ha. Like it wasn't even considered. And then I was like, okay, that is not a good answer.
They said it's a scam?
Yeah, they implied it was a scam and untrustworthy and all this stuff. And look, they had somewhat a point. But I was like, okay, well, clearly somebody needs to help build this stuff if people are laughing at it. So I got a job at Coinbase a few weeks after that. Okay.
Do you think they would say the same today? The same company?
No, not at all.
Of course not.
Today they would be like, oh, hell yeah, stables, boom.
We made it. You also, since you're from Canada, you have like some opinions on the country and on everything around it. You called the Canadian dollar a shitcoin at some point. Do you want to elaborate on that for our Canadian viewers? Why is the Canadian dollar a shitcoin, or was it just like a random ramble?
Well, it's absolutely a shitcoin.
Oh.
If you look at USD versus CAD, it's not doing well at all. The interesting thing about Canada is you'll do the same education, you'll know the same things, you'll have the same job, like you'll work for an American company, but then you'll get paid less. And not only do you get paid less, you get paid less in an inferior currency that when you convert it back to USD, turns out you were making no money at all. Which is interesting because Canada, in theory, should be one of the strongest nations on earth. I mean, they have the second biggest land mass in the world. They have by far the most resources, natural resources. I mean, they have everything. They have oil, they have crops, they have water, literally everything. And you know, the socialist mind virus just, and it wasn't always like this. Like when I first moved there, it certainly, like, especially when Stephen Harper and whatnot was PM, it was a much more responsible country. And then now basically it's turned to a parody where you have to, you know, you watch the hockey game, you turn it on, and then the first, you know, 98 seconds is land acknowledgements of like, well, this land was formerly owned by the Cherokee Washis and all this shit on. And it's like, what are we doing here?
They need a Trump, huh?
They need somebody who is just no nonsense, and who can, you know, who's not a fiscal terrorist.
Right.
Yes.
We leave it there. Let's move on and talk more about Solana. When was the first moment when was the final moment when you decided that Ethereum is not it? What do you call that? Because I believe that after Coinbase and, you know, you've probably been exposed to Ethereum mostly.
Well, I never thought Ethereum was it to begin with. I was always I'm very non-committal. Like, I just entertain all the possible ideas first before I make a decision. But yeah, I was working at Coinbase. I did work on EVM networks. You know, one day, one of the people at Coinbase during the NFT run released an NFT, and he said, "Oh, this is a free mint for everybody who works at Coinbase."
Gas fees killed you.
Yeah, and so I go and mint it, and I'm like, "How the f is this a free mint?"
Yeah.
And it's
hundreds
like
of dollars.
Yeah, it took like 18 like signing of the things, and I was like, this is so ridiculous. And
Good old times.
I was a pretty big tryhard, so I was still like, okay, what's the next big thing? Whatever, all this. I read the white papers for Solana Avalanche, Cosmos, Polkadot. Might have even read Cardano at one point. I was very new, mind you. When I read the Solana paper, so I studied communications engineering, which is, you know, information theory and communication between like radio towers and stuff like this. And if you know like Solana's, you know, history, they're all Qualcomm guys, and the premise of how like proof of history works, for example, is very similar to a communications engineering system. And so I was like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. This is basically what I learned in school. This is how you would scale it. It was very clear that it was on paper the most scalable. And then I started building things. I started making bots during the NFT run. You know, in Discord back in the day, there would be like every NFT project would have their own channel, and then they would have like a sales channel, and then like every time something sold, people would like spam the free emoji. And I'm the one who made those bots, at least most of them. You know, I started posting about that. I started open sourcing some code. And, you know, at this point I had like 50, 100 followers, nothing crazy. But then people from Solana started engaging with it. And then, you know, I started doing these like ZachXBT type analyses on, you know, people would mint all the NFTs to like separate addresses. Like they would bundle basically. And I would write scripts to find out like, actually this guy has like all the supply. You probably don't want to buy this NFT. And so I started going more viral from posting stuff like that. And then one day at Coinbase, so at this point I was already like a Solana person, and I would dispel, you know, false information on like how Solana works from, let's say, Ethereum people.
Were you the Solana guy at Coinbase?
Yeah.
I see.
And so I started like Solana channels within Coinbase on the Slack. And like people, the PMs would come and ask me for, you know, certain, you know, how do we actually attack this, whatever. And they were actually open to it, right? Like Coinbase gets some unfair coverage from this, but like they were actually quite open to it. The problem was when you had to build something on Solana as an enterprise, there was not many things you could use out of the box. On Ethereum, you had Etherscan and Alchemy and all this stuff. On Solana, you didn't really have much. And so I was like, why would I build this within Coinbase when I can just build it on my own and then sell it to Coinbase afterwards? Which is actually exactly what ended up happening.
That checks out, because I was wondering, you had a stable job at Coinbase, probably like decent pay, interesting market still, bull market, and then you're like, whatever, you left it for some entrepreneurial venture on Solana.
Yeah,
and
it
the question
scary.
is, you know, is it conviction or insanity or something in between?
Look, it was scary. I mean, I had a big, Coinbase had just went public.
IPO.
So I had some stock, and it was like a considerable amount for me at the time because I was super broke. And it was stable. It was actually quite fun too. I liked working there a lot. Very smart people.
I bet, yeah.
But then I was, and I've written about this a few times. I had read this sequence of books. I had read Skin in the Game by Nassim Taleb, who has blocked me, by the way. But he's still one of my favorite people.
What do you do to him?
I just call him for not knowing how Bitcoin works. This was like 5 years ago. But he's like me, basically, or I'm like him, more to say. So because he's like an angry Middle Eastern bald guy that likes math and likes insulting people. So a lot of similarities. And he had this book, Skin in the Game, and he was talking about how like the economy is all because people that make the money are the ones who don't bear risk, but then socialize the risk to the people below them. It made a lot of sense to me. And, his conclusion is basically that the most honorable thing to do is take risk and start a new venture. After that book, I read 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. That was the first book in my life that I finished in one day. I was just reading it. Like, I did not put it down once. I didn't go to the washroom, nothing. It was all about how, the future is undetermined and you had to go and make it happen. And you had to take risk. And, you had to look for secrets. And that book, I was like, oh, this is so cool. I wish his fund invested in my company or whatever, which actually ended up happening like 4 years after. And then after that, I basically, and I had always had startup ideas in the past, which I think are quite good, actually. And then after that book, I basically just started thinking in the mental framework of like, okay, what company, what problems can I solve and take risk with? And, a few months after this opportunity came along.
What was the best startup idea you didn't act on?
I have two. I mean, I think they're good. But so the first one is when I was in high school, there was already these, smartwatches, right? Like the one you're wearing. Now, frankly, I think those are ugly as
Thanks.
No worries. I'm a watch guy, right? Like my dad collected watches, pretty poor ones, but whatever. They're still works of art. I like the craftsmanship that goes into it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look, and I think at that time, a few girls in high school were like, oh, these watches are so childish, and something like this. And I was like, people wear these things. Why? I mean, they probably wear them. At least I would wear them for health reasons. I want to check my, HRV and then my pulse and my blood oxygen, all this. So why not take the little circuit that measures all that behind the smartwatch, make it portable and rechargeable, and then just attach it to any other watch. And so you could convert any watch that you already own that's not a smartwatch into a health tracking device, and you get the style and the health.
Who's building this?
So interestingly enough, a few months ago, I tweeted this idea a few times, and there's a guy, Max Resnick, who's not Max Resnick from Solana, by the way, who helped make these Solana watches. And then this guy he saw the idea and he's like, yeah, I can do this. And I think he might build it now. But I think, and so like back in the day, I was like, I don't know how to build a electrical circuit. I have no idea how to do this. Now, of course, you could easily do it with AI and just design the circuit and fucking give it to some printer. But I think that idea still holds a lot of weight because the luxury smartwatch market is extremely high margin, right? People pay $50,000 for the Rolex. Surely they'll pay $500 or something for a little device that you just tag on top of it.
Fair. So maybe after crypto you can venture into the watch business at some point. Now, going back to your company, Helio, it started as a data API because reading on-chain data is bananas, or at least it was bananas. That was your word. Now, it is RPCs, laser stream, webhooks, validator, liquid staking token, block explorer, and AI. When did make Solana data readable, build everything?
Yeah, this is so as I was doing the sleuthing that I said when I first started on Solana, the big irony to me was that the blockchains are messaged as transparent, but transparency doesn't necessarily matter unless it's legible, right? So for example, you can say, look, I'm talking to you transparently in Chinese, but I don't know Chinese. It doesn't matter to me, right? And so somebody needs to make that data processed, right? Data is like oil, but it's like oil found below the earth or the ground. You have to extract it and refine it and make it workable such that it can go in the car. With Ethereum, that was much simpler due to how their how the EVM and just their entire culture works. On Solana, that was not the case. You had to like reverse engineer how the contract was written to be able to extract what it was. This is particularly important because when you were, trying to parse Magic Eden NFT sales or listing transactions, they will not list the price transparently. I think it was because they didn't want to get aggregated by like people on top of them. But I was like, that's kind of bullshit. So we will just reverse engineer it and expose it. And then I figured, like, look, this is probably useful for all sorts of things like taxes and wallets and block explorers and all this stuff. And we were actually going to do a block explorer like 4 or 5 years ago. And then to get that data, you need to use things called RPCs to feed that data to your systems. And at that time, everybody told us, look, RPCs are a solved space. You know, there's all these big players and they raised tens of millions. Alchemy had raised at 10 billion. And we're like, okay, sure, whatever. We'll just use, if it's a solved problem, we'll just use them. Turns out, as we used them, they sucked. They were not good. They were slow. They were expensive with surprise billing and missing data and all sorts of stuff. And we're like, we literally can't do our jobs with this. And so to my CTO, Liam, I was like, dude, just build something. And over one weekend, basically, we set up a proof of concept. And we released it. And then people just started using it. We're like, oh, shit, what the hell? It kept going down because we hadn't assumed anybody would use it. And then from doing that, we just kept learning more things, more problems that developers had. Because I was in every single personal support chat myself, as along with all the founders. Still the case today. And we just kept learning stuff and then using that knowledge to build other things that they need.
Makes sense. And then you ended up having a whole product suite that you have now with a bunch of stuff. Also, Validator business is quite big for Helius. It went from, I think, 0 to 14 million SOL in like 58 days or something. Like it really exploded really quickly. First of all, why should people stake to Helium? Simple question.
So staking is a lot like, in Solana is delegated staking. So you delegate your stake to some validator. It's a lot like governance or like democracy in some sense. You vote for somebody and then you trust them to represent your interests. And with Helius, we are basically the only infrastructure provider that is Solana exclusive, right? When all the other people were going to different chains and support other chains, not only did we double down on Solana, I personally took a lot of risk to defend and represent the chain everywhere, right? Like whether it's fighting FUD or, for example, at conferences, I would debate the CEOs of other chains, right? Anatoly and Raj would just be YOLOing and because, they want to be decentralized. And I would just basically go to war against these folks, let's say. And so we are extremely skin in the game with Solana, and our entire incentive is to make the network succeed. Also, we charge zero commission. So when you stake, the rewards that you would receive, generally speaking, validators will take a cut of that before passing it to you. We don't take any of it. You get back. So not only do you beat inflation from Solana because we take no fees from the inflation rewards, you also get back all the MEV rewards. So you'll have the best return and the most trustworthy people that are the most aligned for the network.
All right, good plug, not gonna lie. But also for my own sake, do you have any advice to kiss to get so much delegation for your validator?
I think the way I've succeeded so far in Solana has been always with the same mentality of just try to create value. There's a lot of people who fall into these taker games where, you know, there's some slice of the PvP pie and then they're trying to just be a better taker. But with Solana, and this sometimes works against companies' best interests because we don't make as much money as we should. But creating value. So, for example, we hosted a lot of hackathons when in the dark days of Solana, and you know, pocketed a lot of it ourselves and all this stuff. If you just create value and you do what you think is right, generally speaking, if it's a functioning system and ecosystem, then the other people who are interested in who play long-term games will find a way to you. And then once that happens, you know, it's in their best interest to help you because it also helps themselves.
Yeah, it's kind of karma. It's a reputation game as well, right?
Yeah.
You put good things out, you get good things back.
Yeah.
But speaking of not making as much money as you could with Helius, you did post a few times recently. I will never financially recover from this. I think I counted like 10, 11, 12 tweets. You also cut prices for a lot of products at Helius, by the way. APIs, you have a hackathon offer as well going on. Should your investors be worried? Are you going to sell your Lambo?
Yeah, I mean, look, the market is not necessarily great for builders right now. A lot of their revenue streams have died down or at least reduced. And one of the things of building a company, like in the interest of capitalism, is as you build these systems, you learn how to make them better. You learn how to produce them at scale and right. So for example, smartphones, the first one kind of sucked balls. And now you can get something with billion times the specs at basically the same price, right? So you need to make these productive improvements and then figure out a way to pass down the cost of savings to your customers so that they can benefit from all the economic efficiency. And so, yeah, I mean, we were basically trying to, you know, people think there's a trade-off between like being the cheapest and like the highest quality and all this stuff. But since we're Solana exclusive, we can give you the best products while also giving you the best price, right? There's no trade-off there. You can actually just get the best of both worlds.
Okay. Now enough Solana. Let's talk about your other company, Zcash. I looked at your tweets, obviously, as you can tell. Did my research. Roughly 60% are about Zcash. 60.
Oh, wow.
25% are philosophy about capitalism. 10% are about Helio. And a mystery 5% is about eggplants. So, at what point are we going to change the title from CEO of Solana to CEO of Zcash?
I mean, people already call me that.
Well,
unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, I think Zcash is supremely important to the idea of crypto. It's actually quite important for Solana as well, and I can talk a bit about that later. But like, simply put, crypto without privacy is just not crypto. The whole idea of crypto is P2P electronic cash. I mean, that's at least how it started. However, it somehow lacks all the most important properties of cash, which is that with cash, I take money from the ATM and I spend it anywhere I want. Nobody's watching me. With crypto, everybody's watching you. Not only is everybody watching you, the ramp that you did KYC with knows everything you've ever done. And frankly, everything you've ever done is immutably stored, so it can be used against you indefinitely into the future. It's like this nightmare surveillance scheme, right? And people don't tend to not think of these things until there's like a catastrophe that happens. So for example, with Drift, like people are like, oh, like my money's safe. And then just bam, one day, no, it's not safe. And privacy not only is a security issue because, you know, if people see how much you have, you're a target, information can be used against you, right? You know, whatever you do say can and will be used against you is what the cops say. That's the exact same thing with on-chain transactions. Whatever you do on-chain can and will be used against you. And, Zcash was outside of the top 100 of crypto assets. And they had came to me for this project for scaling Zcash because obviously being in Solana, people trusted like our judgment on scale. And so I was in some very niche tech conference, which was not just crypto, but like, bioengineering and space and all these other things. And none of the things that were happening in crypto seemed that ambitious or that mission aligned. Like they didn't have that ideology embedded in them like all the other fields. Like the AI guys think they will actually change humanity. Versus crypto, we're like, yeah, we'll help you move your money like 10% faster. It's like, okay, that's not like, it doesn't get me out of bed in the morning. And so I'm like, okay, privacy is clearly, and there's like a derivation step to this, right? Like for example, first with Bitcoin, you had to prove legitimacy. You had to prove that this store of value thing on the internet can work. And then Vitalik came and said, well, there's a problem here. It's not programmable. And so he made it programmable with Ethereum. And then Anatoly came and said, okay, well, it's programmable now, but it's slow as shit and doesn't scale. So we need to make it accessible. But then the forgotten branch there, which Bitcoin tried fixing as well, was privacy, right? The entire industry of crypto is created by who? The cypherpunks. What is a cypherpunk? A cypherpunk is literally somebody who uses cryptography to give freedom in terms of privacy and sovereignty to the individual. And you cannot do that by building a system that's more surveillance friendly than the existing system. And so for crypto to fulfill its vision and its purpose, you need to bring back privacy in a very serious way. It needs to be all around. And Zcash, I think, has the best story, the best foundation for this. And so I started talking about it. We started hiring for it, started doing work for it. And it went from, top 100 to I think it's now in the top 20, top 15, depending on the day. And next up is top 3.
Good job. And is that a problem that gets more and more dramatic? Because I guess also the more on-chain intelligence exceeds and excels and gets better, the more this actually becomes a problem. Because 5 years ago, it was a bit different. People didn't really feel that urge to make this more private because they're like, everyone is kind of pseudo-anonymous anyways. Like people don't really know who I am on chain. So as long as there's no PAI, people don't know who I am, it's okay. But I think that kind of changed. Or what happened? Like where's the switch? Why is it now so important and why was it not?
Well, I think first people were trying to solve the more tangible problems of like scale and like blockchains really didn't scale until 2023, 2024, I would say, with Solana ironing out its bugs. And then it was the problem of legitimacy, right? Like our institution's going to use this stuff, our bank's going to use this stuff. But it turns out actually the banks will not use this stuff unless it has privacy guarantees, right? Which is why you see like Canton is taking off now as well. And like a few other things happen, right? As more people come on chain, the network effects of identity linkage become easier and easier, right? Now you have, the more transactions you have, the more exposure there is in the entire system. And then, of course, the much more interesting thing is AI, right? With AI, the superpower of AI really, and people overcomplicate this, is that it can work with unstructured data, right? Most data that you see on the internet is structured data, right? You go to a block explorer, you enter the transaction ID, hash, and then you get the same fields back every time. But with AI, it can accept unstructured data, like human language, and then return you back other unstructured data. Well, blockchain data and linkages and transactions are unstructured. There was a recent paper on how AI can be used to de-anonymize pseudo-anonymity in messaging forms by like 90%. Well, what else is pseudo-anonymous? That would be blockchain. Yeah. And so with AI, you would be able to, as it keeps advancing, really understand who people are on chain.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess if there's already really good intelligence companies out there that have been doing really good job on identifying people like Arkham and so on. Yeah. Like if they get better and better in AI, which they do.
I think Arkham's a scam, by the way, but
why is that
different? They're just not serious people. They're
but the product is not good?
I think the product is good, but their social media like messaging arm is extremely dishonest.
Well, yeah, we get people like that in crypto.
Yeah. By the way, is there a washroom?
There might be. I guess so, yeah. We can make a quick break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where is it? Outside, right? Alrighty, ready?
Yes.
Let's pick up where we left off. We talked about privacy, Mert.
Man, the UAE has great washrooms, honestly.
Yeah. Dubai washrooms. You said privacy is not about wrongdoing. It's about choice. dignity, and functional capitalism, which is a beautiful quote. Now, obviously, you're very passionate about privacy. This is why I want to ask some private questions. So, quick fire. Don't take too long to answer these. So, let's get started. At what age did you lose your virginity? Awesome.
14?
I didn't expect you to answer this. What's holding most people back from being their best version of themselves? Quick fire. Fear. Fear. Do you care about what people think of you?
No.
What do people think of you?
Who knows?
What's the weirdest thing about you nobody knows? One weird thing about you that nobody knows.
Weird?
Yeah.
I'm a...
Come on, you can say it.
I love Russian war songs.
That is weird. Name your favorite underrated Solana builder or project.
I think Hilo is underrated on Solana.
Okay.
Because we need a decentralized stablecoin.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of builder... Geez, there's a lot.
It's fine if you want to just call out a project.
Well, let me give people their flowers. Builder... I would say my co-founders, Nick and Liam.
Very noble. Name the most overrated one.
Project or builder?
You pick.
Oh.
Come on, you can those.
Anatoly.
Fair. What's a company you want to acquire one day?
As a matter of fact, I'm in the process of doing a few, so I cannot answer.
What's a company you want to acquire one day that you're not acquiring right now? Potentially. In a perfect world.
Jeez. I would like Turnkey.
Okay. What could Tolly do better?
Everything.
And what is Raj actually doing all day long?
That's a very good question. Raj, I honestly, I don't have a great, he's a very stealthy man, which is probably good. Unlike Toll, he was everywhere all the time, saying random Bernie Sanders.
Okay, moving on. You can describe Helius, very good. I can see that in tweets and in interviews and so on. But can you describe it without the words capitalism, money, markets, Home Depot, or Zcash?
Zcash. Yes, Helius is a platform that lets you build crypto applications. Fast, cheap, scalable.
Fair enough. Also, another tweet I found, my digging. Everything's on the internet, my friend. Claude, Opus 4.6, is a coked out intern who hasn't slept in 40 hours, taking every shortcut known to man. What did Claude do to you, and how much cocaine have you done personally?
I haven't done in a very, very long time. Younger days, though, cannot confirm or deny. Claude just, they nerfed it. They literally nerfed the thing.
You gave up on it?
What?
Did you give up on Claude? Do you think it's...
No, I'm sure they just have to scale up their capacity and stuff. But Codex 5.4 X high is very much the best right now. That said, I'm doing complex backend work. But if you want to do regular...
strategic advice, content, words.
If you're doing all around stuff, as an assistant, then Claude is still by far the best. But if you're doing complex backend work, Codex is solid.
You need to rate these memes from 1 to 10, okay?
Uh-huh.
First meme.
Negative 18.
Fair. Second meme.
That's not even me. That's a different face. 6.
Bad job, Dan.
I like that one. 7.
7. Okay, cool. How about this one?
10. Very good. I do love my elbow pads.
Honestly, I just wanted to get your thoughts on my progress.
Myron.
Also, another thing I found is some historic tweets that Mert put out at some point in his career. So let's start with the first one. I want you to just like justify what you said there. Okay. First tweet. What are we looking at?
Canada is the best country in the world. Probably the best place to live these days.
Explain yourself.
There's no way I said that.
It's the internet, Mert.
What's the date on that?
This one was 3rd of October 2025.
No chance.
I want to talk about your AI product. You launched an AI product. It's called Lana. Can you spell that backwards for us, please?
Anal. Oh, yes. Well, the idea with that name is you know how when you're having a conversation, you would say, so, Simon.
Yeah.
So, Lana. But then Solana is Solana.
I thought it's because all AI logos are buttholes. And you were like...
They are, yeah. Ours is more like an L, though.
Fair.
So you'd have to have done some very weird stuff for it to be shaped like that.
Do you want to talk a bit more about anal AI and what it actually does?
We have all the data on Solana, and we have a lot of it and fast and indexable. So like one day I was like, why the fuck am I going through like these explorers and going through these static pages? It's just really taking the life out of me. I should just be able to ask my boy Claude, and we actually have multi-model support as well, who stole my money? So when the drift hack happened, by the way, I used Lana, and I was the first one to publicize it actually on Twitter. So
True.
Pretty fun tool.
Yeah.
Lana.ai.
Anal AI by Helius. Quick game. I say name and you say one word. Okay, it's just one word. That basically the first brand association that you have with that name, person, or topic. 3, 2, 1. Phantom.
Purple.
Jupiter.
Planet.
Titan.
The Greek mythological creatures against the gods.
Triton.
Okay.
Hyperliquid.
What name comes? Cats.
Ethereum.
Boring.
Totally.
Weird.
Rush.
Stealth.
Lily Liu.
The word I'm thinking is two words.
Fair.
But I was just going to say tiger.
Vitalik.
Disappointing.
Sophie Rain.
Is that the OnlyFans person?
Yeah.
Overrated.
Canadian dollar.
Trash.
Eggplants.
Nonsensible.
Zcash at 1,000.
Inevitable.
Zcash at 10
Inevitable.
dollars. Okay, whatever. North Korea.
Dumb.
Putin.
Complex.
Do you want to elaborate on that one?
I think I don't want to get too political, but I think with any of these things, you need to make sure that you derive your own thoughts from what you've read and what you've seen, as opposed to trusting the secondhand judgment of ideologues on the internet or media coverage.
What have you seen that we haven't seen?
I think Moscow is incredibly well run, for one.
Okay.
I think geopolitics is much more complex than people make it out to be. And so I know this firsthand just because, I grew up in Canada. And even though I grew up in Turkey as well, the way the Middle East is presented to people, or the Eastern world, like let's say, close to China and stuff, from like Western media is that, these places are weird, backwards places that are like nowhere near the Western world and capability or progress or culture. But then you actually go to those places and then you're like, so that was a lie. Right.
Yeah.
And so you have to be very careful when it comes to these things. Everybody has a different flavor. Everybody has faults and everybody has, negative tendencies, but be very careful, very, very careful on what thoughts are actually your own versus what thoughts you have borrowed from the media.
Fed by someone else.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. I agree. Closing in towards the end of today's session here, just like a few questions out of curiosity that we don't need to do deep dives on. But has Helius ever just considered to go on other chains?
Well, I have done research onto what that might look like.
Excluding Zcash.
We've never actually even considered Zcash. Okay. But yeah, I mean, we've been approached by other chains many times offering, good amounts of money. And we've never considered it in the sense that it's never been serious, but it would be very irresponsible for me as the leader of a venture-backed company to not do any research and be ignorant. That said, I don't think there's anything interesting happening that would warrant us to do that.
Okay. Now, be very honest now. Do you really know how to code?
Yes. I unfortunately had to do some hand coding myself for most of my career.
Okay.
I don't know how to do Rust, but I know how to do like Golang, C, JavaScript, Ruby, Python, yada yada.
Fair. And what will it take for Ethereum to beat Solana? Yeah, it's a handful. I agree.
I think it's a bit like asking, what does Windows need to do to beat Apple, or like what Xbox needs to do to beat PlayStation, which is to say, I'm actually not sure those are winnable fights, because the user base and the application base that prefers one platform or the other just has quite different characteristics than the other ones. So I think they will both coexist for different segments.
Okay. So you give a higher than 50% probability to Ethereum withstanding time and being an infrastructure piece for the next stage of global money and markets and capitalism.
I don't think it'll be the home of markets or capitalism. I think it will be the home for lots of interesting crypto native things. I think they're doing good stuff on privacy. I think that there's still a lot of interest in cryptography and this bottoms up culture of like, ideology in terms of what they think is important. But I think there's a big lack of pragmatism that comes with that. And I think capitalism that doesn't scale is by definition not going to be capitalism, because capitalism is about the dispersed knowledge all over the planet kind of competing its way up. And so if you can't host the entire planet's activity, then you're never going to be very good at that.
Fair. Okay. Good point. Now, the very last thing I want you to do, Mert, here, it's actually very easy. Can you take this white piece of paper, hold it in front of your body, like you're showing it to the camera, look into the camera, smile, and tell us, what's the CA? Thank you so much for joining today's interview, Mert. It has been a pleasure. Was fun, definitely, to interview.
Of course.
All right.